everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge podcast. My name's Josh. Thanks for joining me today. We are talking about Jesssfam and the thing that's going on with her and Lilia, her daughter, and the depths that Jess will go with her clickbait. We're also going to take a look at the Reddit and see what's going on over there. People have some comments and some suggestions and things that they think are going on with Jesssfam and why she's doing something like this, like Jonathan Ciccone did with his child. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of it all. We're going to talk about why it's important for Jess to do this and why she continues to give away her kids' privacy and all these things that are super, super detrimental to their future. So, let's go. If you're new to the Jesssfam situation, welcome. Jesssfam is a redheaded moron from California who has been vlogging her pregnancy since she was 17 years old. She has made untold amounts of money. If you look at her channel here, she has been around since 2009, so almost 14 years, and she has 694 million views, which is a lot, but not a lot for someone who's been on the internet for 14 years. Okay, so I'm not saying that I'm anything but... At the rate she went, she should be in the billions. And now she's over 500 million views, and that's a lot of money. But it's really telling about Jesssfam and how she just has created a formula and has stuck with that formula, including massive amounts of clickbait. Jesssfam has also done stupid shit like go on the internet and tell everybody she has threesomes. And if you go to the Reddit under Jesssfam Snark, she only has 2,000 members. I'm actually surprised she doesn't have any more. Well, it's just because people don't really watch her, and she's not as big as she thinks she is. I think Jess is the biggest fan of Jess. One of the things that Jesssfam apparently did on TikTok was admitting to the clickbait and how she says she reads the stuff, almost like she reads the stuff about her. And Jesssfam says clickbait's part of the process, but it sort of is, yeah, and I would agree with that. But I'm pretty sure YouTube doesn't like that. It's basically lying. It's manipulating for the algorithm, and YouTube doesn't like it. I mean, YouTube's not going to do anything about it. Everybody clickbaits to some degree. I try not to, but it does. There's something to be said for clickbait bringing in viewers, and it does to the degree. Our Life is like one of the main proponents of this. Everything that they did was clickbait. Jesssfam does more clickbait than anybody else I've ever seen. Most family vloggers don't do a massive amount of clickbait. Those who do are flailing, and they're kind of falling apart. What kind of prompted this video we're talking about today is this post that Jesssfam made. She answers a question on her Ask Me Anything Instagrams, which is like, these people, I don't even know how they have a chance to parent their children when they're always on the internet. They are chronically online. Okay, is Lilia involved in the LGBTQ plus community? If so, good for her. Will she ever openly talk on it? Okay, and then Jesssfam takes this picture with Lilia, and it says, I know I have never officially confirmed this, but yes, she is. She is very open about it to family and friends and was proud to soft launch it on the internet with her video as Prince Charming earlier this year. She has recently been wanting to share more about it on social media, and as soon as we allow her to have more access to her socials at age 13, I'm sure you'll be hearing more about her journey. Right now, I can say she has a huge support system. We all are so proud, and she's loud and proud about being her true self. Now, the issue here isn't about the LGBTQ stuff, because there are children who live in that spectrum, who live in that world, and it can't be argued. Like, kids who are gay exist. That's it. Now, the argument is like, okay, is she trans? Is she this? Non-binary? Is she pansexual? Is all this stuff that's kind of happened to our kids over the past few years, which has been an explosion of this type of stuff, absolutely does coincide with something like TikTok, like putting your kids on social media, like the pressure to be that. Now, a lot of people are going to call me transphobic for saying that, and I don't give two shits what you say. Okay? Leave the kids out of it. Jonathan Ciccone did the exact same thing, and the fact that these parents are doing this to their children and giving away all their identity and their story to tell on the internet for everybody to have for money is what pisses me off. Not that the kids are living in that spectrum in that world. I mean, that's a different conversation for a different day. As a responsible parent, I talk to my children about that stuff. I'm not going to hide it from them, but I'm going to make sure that they are aware of what's going on in the world and make sure that they know to love everybody at all times, no matter who or what they say they are. Okay, but where I have a massive problem with this is where Jesssfam says something like soft launch for her daughter's sexuality or her identity. That's where everybody's starting to have this problem. And there's, been a little bit of a debate on the Facebook group, on my Facebook group. So if you head over to the Problem with Family Vloggers - the DCP, and here's the thing that really, really gets me about this conversation. That is, if you say anything that would be construed as something against this, This is the problem. This is more where I know I rarely talk about this type of stuff, this political stuff, right? I rarely do. But we got to dive into it in this type of thing. Same with this Jonathan Sakona-Jolie thing. There's a subset of people out there that if you have a problem with this mom putting out that her daughter might be part of the LGBTQ community or part of the trans community, that you're transphobic. Lily is trans is a question mark. When she turns 13, we're going to hear all about it, apparently. Rolling my eyes as hearing about it being trans. Now, what she's going on about, and then there are people like, she doesn't say anything about trans in there, but here's where that person is getting that from. She says she was so proud to soft launch it on the internet with her video as Prince Charming earlier this year. Now that's where they're getting it from. And you can't blame people from taking that away from that. From taking away that she went to be Prince Charming. That's not gay, that's trans. So that's why people are saying she's trans. And it doesn't even matter, really, in the end. What matters is that Jess is monetizing her daughter's story without her daughter's informed consent, regardless of what Lilia thinks. Lilia is not old enough to consent, even if she says, yes, I consent to it. We've had many conversations. We've talked about this with psychologists and lots of people. These kids can't consent even if they say they can. Okay, the parents need to make that consent for them. And what Jonathan Sakona-Jolie does and what Jesssfam does is they consent for their kids to tell their stories on the internet. What if Lilia changes her mind? And again, for me, just saying that right there, you're going to get people like this. Wow, it's just another way to exploit cash on her daughter, and there's nothing wrong with supporting the LGBT community. There is something wrong with confusing children about their gender identity. There's a huge difference between being born in the wrong body and having a mental disease. Her daughter is saying this now because it's trendy. To not know what gender you are. I'd place money on the fact that she's going to say she's non-binary, pronouns are they, them. This little girl is just entering puberty, and the last thing she should be worrying about is whether she's a boy or girl. Sharing that fact with millions of other individual kids is what's wrong with this world. Now, take that, you might not agree with what they're saying there. And again, because if you scroll down a couple, this person says, you both come across as extremely homophobic. And that's, in the world that we live in right now, this person thinks that's the only argument you really need anymore. You're not going to come back with a statement or anything like that. And again, agree or disagree. I honestly believe that kids in this world, LGBTQ, specifically kids before puberty too, okay? No. Kids before puberty don't have sexuality, gay, straight, or otherwise. They're children. Okay, so if you are pushing that on children or you want that to be pushed on children, I've got some serious concerns about you as an adult and who you are as a person. I'm in the camp of let kids be kids. In my opinion, I honestly believe that children below puberty, just leave them out of it. And I know I'll be considered transphobic for saying that exact phrase, but I honestly believe that. If you're an adult and you're coming into yourself and you're coming into your own as a teenager and all that kind of stuff, we can have a different conversation about that. Okay, especially if you're a consenting adult, do what you got to do. I'll use your pronouns. I'll love you for who you are. I think it's amazing that you want to just express yourself however you do. Okay? That's for adults to decide what they want to do. But when it's being pushed on children, that's where I have a problem with it. And I think the majority of people on Earth probably think the same way I think. They're just scared to say it. Okay? And I'm talking children, everybody. Children. Bigger issue here is that Jess using this to monetize this for clickbait for whatever reason to make more money on her social media platforms to grow Lilia's social because it's popular to be this right now. This is a stance that is popular to have. But I honestly believe the pendulum is swinging back, considering this drag issue that's going on with children in schools and these books like Genderqueer that are in schools, pornography in schools, and parents are starting to fight back. I honestly believe that. And you guys know me. One of my main drivers on this channel is to protect children. And you guys might not agree with my methods. That's for sure. A lot of you don't. But those are my methods, and they tend to work because I'm one of the loudest voices against child exploitation online. So regardless of how you think I do it, it's working. Now, you got people like Mom Uncharted over there doing big things too, and she's just nicer about it. And so she might be the person you want to go for your information, and that's great because I completely support her. If anybody is on this side with me against child exploitation, regardless you hate me or not, I am your ally to a degree, okay? I think we should all combat this. And part of that is this, right? Especially the public version of this, like Jonathan Sakona-Jolie and now Jesssfam. And there's another one, Ika, from, I forget the name, but I've been speaking to like her family. I've been speaking to the family members of the kid she adopts. This is happening, and it's like a Munchausen syndrome by proxy, but for kids' identities. And it needs to be updated. The DSM-5 needs to update this whole thing about what's going on with this. There's this thing called main character syndrome. Okay? And this is Jesssfam. I know this is getting kind of back and forth. Here it is. Here's the post that someone sent me. Signs that someone has main character syndrome. Okay? Notice how the person there is a redhead? While obviously not a psychological diagnosis, some people think of themselves as the main character or the protagonist of their story. Unfortunately, this often results in others finding them insufferable, and here's some signs of that. They get angry when things don't go their way, even for very minor inconveniences, because they feel the world is against them. Now, Jesssfam has had many videos where she talks about this exact same thing. We've seen her at Panda Express get in fight with these couple of trash bags there about her kids acting out during the pandemic. We've seen Jess say, excuse me, to teachers who punish their children. Jesssfam gets upset if somebody at Disney treats her the wrong way, or she can't get a flight the right way. Jesssfam gets angry when things don't go her way inside of her world. She has lost many friends because of this, by the way. And I think Jess doesn't even realize the friends that she thinks she has in her circle aren't her friends. And that's all I'm going to say about that. They are constantly doing things for others' validation and attention, as if their eyes are on them at every moment. Because Jesssfam, there are eyes, and she knows that eyes are on her, and she puts the content out because she wants the eyeballs on her at every moment. But the issue with the Lilia thing is that Jesssfam is using that to perpetuate her main character syndrome. Right? That's silly. That's gross. They always need a villain in their lives and will invent a reason to hate someone when they feel like it. Everybody knows someone like this too, okay? They always need a villain. In Jesssfam's world, who's been the villain recently, right? Who came on my show and talked about that? One of the second most watched videos on my channel. We talked to Janelle, and Janelle was Jesssfam's best friend forever. Okay, they had threesomes together. Janelle has accused Chris of SAing her, taking something that, like, kissing her without her permission and all these kind of things, and has whistleblown after the fact, but was like ride or dies with Jess for years and years and years. And then Janelle became the villain in Jesssfam's story because Janelle wasn't going to put up with shit anymore. Not only was Janelle the villain, but Janelle's daughter became the villain too. Jesssfam made them into villains. And that's what Jesssfam does. Everybody's the villain but Jesssfam. They think of themselves as infallible and capable of doing no wrong. Any attempt to hold them accountable or critique them is seen as a personal attack. Now, one of the things that Jesssfam has been critiqued on many times is the fact that she doesn't actually parent her children. She doesn't watch them when they're doing dangerous shit, and she's got boys who are dangerous. Boys are dangerous. They do stupid shit. One of those things was the kid doing a backflip into the pool and almost killing himself, and Jesssfam's like, the cameras picked it up. Right? But Jesssfam still to that couldn't apologize for being a shitty parent. Couldn't come out and say, guys, you're right. Oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. I've never actually ever seen Jess ever once take accountability for any of the shit she's ever done online. I've taken accountability for some stupid shit that I've done, some conversations I shouldn't have had, and some opinions that I had that I've changed my mind on. I've taken accountability for those things, and I've reversed my course in my mind and my thought process on those things to a degree. Right? I'm not saying all the time, and I wouldn't do it for things that I stand on and things I stand firmly on, right? But I have taken accountability for lots of things. I've never seen Jesssfam take accountability for one thing she's ever done, especially to the privacy concerns about her children. Even when she was accused by thousands of people about not parenting her kids they could have killed, she didn't even come out and say that. She just justified it. Jesssfam is unable to take critique. Right? And most people on YouTube are like that. I can take critiques, but at the same time, I actually consider my source where the critiques are coming from. Like, if there are people I trust, like my mods, who will critique me and think, I will change my mind on that stuff. There are people who I love and trust in my life, who I'm loyal to or loyal to me. I will change. I will take the critique of those people that I love and respect. Right? But Jess doesn't have anybody she loves and respects. Because Jess is the apex predator of her life. She's the top of the food chain. She doesn't respect anybody. She's like Trump, man. It's weird because Trump is a total douchebag and could have done crazy things for the party that he came in to do, but refused to take advice from anybody on how to be a normal-ass person, right? And Jesssfam is the same way. She cannot take critiques from anybody, especially probably her husband, right? How dare he say anything? And we know that Janelle whistle blew on the fact that Jesssfam can't take any critiques because Jesssfam loses all the friends who probably want to critique her. Or at some point, the friends are just like, hey, I don't want to put up with this anymore, and they confront her about it, and then they are no longer in her inner circle. It just goes to show that Sunkissed floating turd is probably a pushover. That's all it shows there. And she sees those things as a personal attack, which is a very, very, it's so evident in everything that she does. They feel a constant need to prove themselves superior to others. To them, everything is a competition. It is. It really, really is. Right, so Jesssfam is always clapping back at her haters and doing TikToks with Sunkissed about all these people that have problems with her and not putting her kids in school. And she needs to prove to, and her whole identity is about this like teen mom world life and everything. She thinks it's a flex and it's not. And when people call her out to those things, she has to constantly prove to them that no, you're wrong. Look at me living my best life. But in the end, we all know that she's a lonely, disgusting person who has no love for anybody and does not get love from anybody either. The people that Jesssfam thinks love her, they don't love her. They're scared of her. Jesssfam doesn't have any real relationships at all. Maybe with her children, that's it. But even with her husband, I don't even see it happening. Jesssfam is unable to have these types of real personal relationships because she can never be held accountable, and she always has to constantly prove herself to be this person that she thinks she is. Because like, oh, I overcame being a teen mom. Look at me overcoming this. When it was planned. She planned that because she wanted to be on 16 and Pregnant or whatever it was. Teen pregnant moms on MTV. That was her whole goal in life, and she said it multiple times. And was called out, and all her old posts proved that she did that. And yet today she still lies about that. She has to prove to you that she's worthy by doing all these TikToks about how worthy she is. When we all know she's not worthy. She's lacking in so many ways. Always left wanting when you watch Jesssfam shit. There's nothing there that's redeeming. They are more concerned with their appearance and how they are perceived than how they actually feel. They flaunt everything on social media. Now that's every one of these people. But this one specifically speaks to Jesssfam in so many ways. She is so concerned with appearance that I think she's had 3 breast jobs. Like I think one was an enhancement, one was a change, and then now she got them removed, but they're still huge. I don't know. She dresses in clothes that don't fit her because she's still developmentally arrested at 17 years old, and she thinks that we're dressing like that is a flex. I don't know. She doesn't wear clothes that fit her. She's super, because the way she always preens and prunes herself online and in cameras and everything else and doing her makeup, Jesssfam cares about her appearance. And it's more proof that people will not confront her about her appearance, the fact that she still looks the way she does. And so that basically just shows that Jess cares more about how she's perceived, but it's self-perception than how she actually feels. I know that Jesssfam looks at her videos and doesn't, unless she's a pathological liar to herself, I know that she sees that and says, oh shit. They see everyone else in their lives as the supporting cast instead of human beings. They also see people in black and white. Either you're with me or against me. Now I'm pretty sure this person was watching Jesssfam's videos when they made this. Because yes, everybody in Jesssfam's world is a supporting actor. And how do we know that? Just watch any of her videos. Even videos that have a topic in the title that are about something else. Jess is the center of the attention. She had a Halloween party. There was a house full of people and guests. Who was the center of attention? Right? Anywhere they go, Disney. Even if she's in other people's vlogs, she finds a way to become the center of attention. We're going to look at Sunkissed Mama's vlog in the coming days, and Jesssfam's there and becomes the center of attention. And she gets and then Sunkissed Mama reaps the benefits of the views, right? The podcast, if you've ever listened to it, and please don't, it's shit. It's Jess is the center of attention at all times. Everybody else is a supporting actor. And people and you have to surround yourself with people who are okay with being supporting actors, and that's fine, okay? There are people who are like that, who are great supporting actors in people's lives. But I think that Jesssfam surrounds herself with people who don't want to be supporting actors and eventually like, F this. And then you know that Jess has probably said either you're with me or against me to many people that she's lost in her past. Janelle probably being one of them. Main character syndrome is a result of an increasing disconnection with the world and themselves, fueled by social media. Ironically, this attempt to reclaim one's life leads to self-obsession, indulgence, and distance with real life and others. We may feel tempted to hate and judge people who have this, but it often stems from not receiving validation and being mistreated in life. Kindness and some honest words helps people snap out of this much more effectively than judgment. Well, that's not the tact that I'm going to use. Jesssfam has had the opportunity to grow up, and she refuses to. And I don't know what's going to take for Jess to grow up. I think one of her kids probably whistleblowing on the whole lifestyle. We know that shit has gone down in this home, like stuff that you'll never hear about. Dangers these kids are facing, bullying that they probably face at school and are going to continue to face at school. And it brings us back to this whole Lilia situation. And Jess capitalizing on a situation that is not hers to capitalize on. That's the problem here. It's not that Lilia might be this thing, be LGBT or be trans. It might not be that at all, right? That's fine in the way the world works right now. I disagree because I don't think that she's old enough, but there's a lot of people who do agree with that. Okay, fine. But in my opinion, it's not Jess's place to put that on the internet. If Lilia wants to put that on the internet when she's like, let's say 16, 18, go for it. And the thing is that we absolutely know that Jess is capitalizing, and she has no good intentions with this. There's no like real love. There's no loving intentions for what Jess is doing, because Jess's whole life is main character syndrome. Jess's whole life is about making money on social media, on making content that makes her money. And what's pissing a lot of people off is that Jess's main character syndrome has now dragged everybody into it, and all their stories and all their personal things that they're going through now gets aired on the internet forever and ever. And again, I want to go back to the Facebook group where somebody's like, this sounds extremely homophobic. You got to stop this, because that's not a conversation that's going to help these children. Because there is actually a community called the D-Trans that's absolutely growing by the thousands. If you guys are honestly believing there's not going to be some type of blowback for like a 4,000 plus increase in kids who are identifying as LGB or trans, you're wrong. There's going to be a massive blowback. Kids are not old enough to make these decisions. And when parents push these on their children, and I'm not saying it always is that way, but in Jess's world, I bet you it is. When it's being pushed on children, just like anything, like fundamental religion as well, those kids are going to pick up on that. They are going to attach themselves to that, and it's going to become their identity. Gotten to the point where even adults who have detransitioned, who are calling it out, are now they are considered transphobic, and they are considered enemies and everything else. There's not a lot of nuance or conversation allowed to be happening right now, and I'm not scared to have it, because at its core, we are not protecting our children when we are pushing this stuff. And again, I think the DSM-5 needs to talk about Munchausen syndrome by proxy as it pertains to kids with identity issues, because that is crazy. Because these parents, and Jesssfam's a perfect example of this, because she's gaining notoriety, fans, and likes, and money because she's putting this on the internet. Same with Jonathan Sakota Jolie. That is Munchausen syndrome by proxy. They are benefiting from this thing that they're putting out there that does not belong to them. The story doesn't belong to them. And then with this video that Jess just dropped, it's called the official gender reveal, my daughter's new baby. And obviously it's clickbait because her daughter has one of those newborn babies. So here, let's get to it.
Onesie. Well, we've got everyone cornered around here. This is a big moment right now. Gender reveal? It's a...
Yeah. And this isn't the daughter doing this. This is Jess coercing her into doing something like this. No, regardless of what you believe about this world, and I know there are people in my life and fans that I talk to about this type of thing because they have children who are this and have grown up this way, and I respect everybody's opinion on this. But I don't think you can argue with me that Jess is doing this to benefit herself. She's using a marginalized community to benefit her, to get her views on her channel. So she gets her daughter to buy she buys her daughter a reborn doll, which is creepy in itself, by the way. Not for kids, but for adults it is. And Jess is coercing her daughter into doing this. This isn't her daughter making this up, whatever her daughter's name is. This is Jess doing this.
Gender reveal? Wait, why don't you say what it is? What are we gonna do right now?
I haven't even met your boyfriend yet.
Oh yeah, let's take a guess. What do you think Delaney's baby is, a boy or a girl?
A girl.
And here's a teachable moment for your children. You have to start, I'm gonna get into it. But basically, if you're gonna teach your children about this world, you really have to talk about gender and sex, and they are different. Let's just say that.
Girl, 5.
And this isn't even Jess's kid, by the way. It's someone else's damn kid.
4, 3, 2, 1. It's a girl! Okay.
Boys, team boy.
Oh, team boy. Raise your hand if you think Melody is a girl.
Who's the main character here in this story right now, everybody? Is it Melody, is it the kid, or is it Jess, who's chatting the whole time with Jesssfam on the wall?
I don't know. Raise your hand if you think she's
Oh my god, just pop the balloon! See, she pointed to Lilia right there and said, raise your hand if you think it's non-binary, and Lilia's it. So that's, again, Jess is just... It's calculated. I know that Alicia does this a lot, but Jess is doing this on purpose. She knows she's going to get pushed back and flack for doing all this stuff, and she doesn't give a shit. She wants it. She wants the smoke. She really does. Even though it might not even be genuine whatsoever.
Nobody can identify however they want to identify.
I love that. I actually love that.
And again, that's why people are saying that Jesssfam is pushing this transgender issue with Lilia online, because Lilia just said that. They can identify as however they want to identify. And some people are like, why are you saying it's trans? And because they're apparently on their tree, if you look right here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a pride flag. Okay, it is what it is, right? There is actually a huge debate right now, and if you go on Twitter, it's called LGB without the T. And there's this big divide happening right now between lesbian, gay, bi community and the transgender community, and that they're not the same thing. Because lesbian, gay, and bi people, that's a sexuality, whereas transgender is an identity thing, right? And so they're not synonymous, and that's what's happening. There's a big divide because transgender community became massively, how do you say this without being really rude? They became toxic, very, very, very toxic. Now, Lilia saying that is Jesssfam and Lilia being perpetually online as well and on TikTok and being inundated with this stuff into your eyeballs. It's so weird across the spectrum because if you go to TikTok and you see someone like Dylan Mulvaney who's on there and completely celebrated for being days of girlhood and everything else, and you look through comments of people like this or Jonathan Squanajoli, for the most part, TikTok is very, 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 very supportive of this, and you can go on there and say that I have 1 million personalities and you call me Zers and I go by frog pronouns, and everybody's like, this is amazing, yes queen, and they just get up there and they're so supportive. You do that same thing on Instagram? Nope. It's not the same type of thing. Go on Twitter, super divided, if not more divided than even TikTok on the opposite end of the spectrum. Facebook, same thing. So if you're allowing your kids to be on TikTok and these things, they are going to be inundated with this type of messaging. And when they see someone else who's out there for the attention that they're getting for it, receiving that attention, they're going to want that too. Social media has ruined our children's lives. And thank God my youngers are not old enough to be on social media, nor will they ever be on social media. My kids are not going to be on social media until they are adults, until they can drink. Okay? Or go to the military and vote. They're not going to be on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, none of it until they are adults. Okay? Unless they can prove to me that they're smart enough and mature enough to be on that stuff. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think we will save our children by keeping them off the internet. That's what I said. Again, we'll go back to the beginning of the topic. The clickbait thing. The official gender reveal and name for my daughter's new baby. Also, you got people on the Reddit. If you go to Jesssfam_snark on Reddit, it's you have sun-kissed Fupa over here with Jess making out in front of the kids on New Year's Eve or looking like they're about to do that. And it is in front of their children. And we know Jesssfam has threesomes and probably includes this couple they probably do couple stuff. Again, when you're a consenting adult, do what you got to do to make yourself happy if you're safe doing all that stuff, right? I just think don't put it on the internet. That's all I'm asking for people to do. And one of the big things was somebody brought this up too, and the thing is gross. When typing in Jesssfam in YouTube search, look at the first option that comes up. I'd take my kids off the internet if I saw this shit. Jesssfam Lilia, period. Jesssfam room makeover, right? And that's the same thing. When I put my tags into my videos, that pops up first too. The tags that I put in that helps me with my algorithm, Jesssfam Lilia period pops up. That's how many people are looking for that on the internet because Jesssfam put that on the internet. And then something about, I think Jess stumbled on something that gave her a little bit more clicks, and she's going to ride this thing until she can't ride it anymore. And babysitting duty for a newborn doll. Like she knows that people are calling her out for it, and she loves it. Jesssfam's the main character. She doesn't get upset when people call out. She loves it. She's very similar to me. I love it when people call me out online. Go for it. Make hundreds of videos about me. I absolutely love it. Go for it. Because I know what I stand for. Right? And if I really wanted to go toe-to-toe with anybody, I could go toe-to-toe with anybody. I can back up my arguments any day of the week. Jesssfam is similar, except her arguments are wrong. It's stupid. But she likes the negative attention and the positive attention. But Jesssfam's whole world is mainly negative attention. Anything that she does positive on her channel gets almost no views. And that goes by this post here. It says, Jesssfam says clickbait isn't that bad. She said that in a TikTok. And this is an adult who's a mom who's just like giddy with so much excitement that she's calling out her haters. This is an adult, everybody. Just loves the drama. Loves it.
Well, guess what? You knew what the fuck I was when you met me, you bitch.
So she says, you knew who the F I was when you met me, you bitch. Right? She's like, so I've been doing clickbait. You knew who I was. So you're saying that we're supposed to accept that you're a liar at all times? You're not going to change? You're just going to be a complete liar all the time? Okay, cool. Well, believe Jess when she tells you who Jess is. Basically, so Jess has, based on recent TikTok, seems to view her clickbait as not that bad or part of the job. As a person seeming no regard for my mental health, I've watched the videos of 10 of her most clickbaity titles, and I'm here to tell you exactly what happens in the video. Also, don't fear. I watched them on a secondary site, so she got no views from me. Also, the purposes of determining if her clickbait is effective, I've added the view count. Remember, the normal for her is now 200,000 views, generally, whereas her videos from a few years ago sat at more like 700,000 views. Title, Twin Brothers Save Their Little Sister, Caught on Camera. What actually happens? Adeline's tube goes slightly off track during tubing and the twins pull it back. View count, 151,000. Title, A Huge Crisis for My 12-year-old Daughter on Stage. What actually happens? Lilia wears the wrong size pants on stage. Huge crisis. Title, a new baby in our family, emotional surprise. What actually happens? It's her uncle's baby. 185,000 views. Title, we were in an accident, hit and run. What actually happens? They were slightly sideswiped by another car and the mirror is damaged. 129,000. But that's actually not clickbait, because if they were hit by a car. My daughter shaved her head, extreme hair decision at age 12. What actually happens? They cut a small section at the back of Lilia's head to help thin it. Oh my God. 300,000. Notice it's about Lilia. Look at the view count. Title, emergency phone call while filming Lilia's huge announcement behind the scenes. What actually happens? They were using smoke to film the video and set off the fire alarm. Their security dispatch called to make sure everything was okay. This person's doing the Lord's work, by the way. Title, breaking the news to my daughter. What actually happens? At some point in middle school, Lilia will go to Washington, D.C. and New York. Breaking the news? Oh my God. A serious accident on the beach involving my son. Kyson hits his toe on a rock. I think we covered that video. Title, saying goodbye to a dear friend. What actually happens? They bury a lizard that Addie found. The lizard was a random one in the street and was already dead when Addie found. The one thing we can't do, and why? Illegal activity. They can't have a campfire due to campground rules. Her clickbait is actually the reason I stopped watching. I then began to realize just how exploitative it was and everything else is wrong with family vloggers more generally. But her excessive clickbait was the first thing that made me stop watching her since it was so exaggerated. And this, if you go through this, if Jess does read on here, I hope she reads this well put together post, gets a reality check about clickbait. She won't. Jess is main character syndrome. You're now her villain. You're the villain in her story now. Laughing my ass off at saying goodbye to a dear friend / dead lizard. And this wasn't a dear friend, it was a dead lizard they found in the street. How is that a dear friend? So that video, I know it's not very snarky, but it really it got me. Because Jesssfam is using her daughter's story, which could be true, could not be true, whatever the case may be. The danger of that is if that Lily wants to change her mind later on, because she's what, 12? And kids change their mind all the time? Lilia might not be able to change her mind. Because if you look at detransitioners right now, they are villains. They're being canceled. They're being bullied. They're being relentlessly attacked online for changing their mind. And so Jess puts this out to the world without giving Lilia the opportunity to put it out herself, and now doesn't give Lilia the opportunity to change her mind if she wants to change her mind. And again, saying that Lilia might change her mind right now could get you canceled. But I don't give a shit because I have kids and I know kids change their mind all the time about a lot of things. And when you're pressured and peer pressured into this type of behavior, you might change your mind later if you have a different set of people who are influencing you later on in life. You don't have the same friends all the time. I think there are more people right now who are saying that they are something else, and it's just because they want to be a part of a thing. And again, it's not really anything inherently super wrong with that. Explore yourself, find out who you really are, and if that means you have to change your mind later, that should be accepted as well. Okay, so if right now you feel that way because you've been, I don't know, coerced or you've been influenced to feel that way, okay. But you should also have the opportunity to change your mind later if that's the case. Like so many kids have. How many of you grew up gothic in high school? You know the goths I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I know lots of gothic kids from my high school, and if I look at them now, they're seemingly not gothic anymore. That's weird. So if you look back at those kids who had crazy identity things going on in high school, for the most part, people grow out of that shit. Right? It's something that they liked and they enjoyed when they were young, and that could not just gothic, that could be a million things. People were into massive amounts of things when they were young, and are likely not like that anymore. I'm not saying all the time, but yeah, it's a lot of this has to do with growing up and maturing and being the person who you become. But if you put this story on the internet and it's where we are as a society right now, okay, and Lilia decides later she doesn't want to do that anymore, she's now going to be a villain. And you gave that to the internet without her informed consent, Jess, and you're a douchebag for doing it. Everybody protect your children, okay? If your kid is a child, they don't have a sexuality. And that includes straight. You understanding me? That's, in my opinion, I get that, but they're not any of those things. If you are attaching a sexuality to your child, check yourself. That's really fucking weird, okay? It's really weird. And this world is making that more acceptable day by day, and that is not protecting your children. Let children be children. Please. And Jesssfam is not allowing that to happen. And she's got, what, 5 more kids? Or she's got, what, 4 more kids that are her own coming up in this world that she's creating for them? And she's using it to gain followers and money. It is Munchausen syndrome by proxy. We need a new name for it for these influencer parents who do this shit to their kids. Somebody help me come up with a new name. Let's coin this shit. Anyway, take a deep breath. Jess, you're a douche. And you should feel ashamed of yourself for doing what you're doing to your daughter. And even though Lilia might be all these things that she's saying she thinks she is right now, that's fine. But it's not your place to tell the 1 million+ subscribers that you have. You are an idiot and you should feel ashamed, but you can't because you're the main character. And you can't feel ashamed because that would mean that you're wrong. And you can't be wrong because you're the main character. And everybody else is wrong. I can't. Am I the drama? Yeah, you're the drama, Jess. You're the one who's wrong here. One day you're hopefully, when you're maybe in your late 40s at this point, I don't know. Maybe you'll wake up to that one day and you're going to apologize to your children because you're going to need to. You're a dick. But you guys are here and following this conversation, and I appreciate the grace on this because I know this is a very divisive topic for a lot of people. But hear me when I say this. I do want you to love your kids no matter what, but at the same time, I also want to make sure you're protecting your children against any ideology that doesn't allow them to be children. That includes religion, everybody. I'm serious. Okay. But you guys are amazing, valuable, incredible. Don't you damn well forget it. Don't fly flare. And I'll see you tomorrow.